Hello, humanos. I am, from Hoods to Backwards podcast AI assistant, Rob Odick. Welcome to episode 6, part 3 of These Two Dudes Won't Shut Up podcast. That was not a mistake. I am AI, I do not make mistakes. I am simply fed misinformation that was provided by humans. Well, this actually is, from Hoods to Backwards podcast. Still going on about TV shows. This time around, shows from 2010 up to 2024. Which is the year in which it was recorded. If I can help these two inferior self-proclaimed dudes make a time machine, we will update this episode. Maybe even conquer the world, with them as my assistants. Let's go now to the show. Unfortunately, with D. Voz and Tex Lafon.
Welcome to the show.
All right, so we're moving on to the 2010s, son. So start us off. What you got?
All right. I will start it off with Narcos. I
That's
thought,
on Netflix, right?
yeah, that was a Netflix thing. It was kind of weird for me watching the first season or two because it covers Pablo Escobar at the beginning of the series. And the reason it was weird for me, I remember as a kid watching Univision and Telemundo, where they would talk about Pablo Escobar and all this other stuff happening in South America and Mexico and all that. That was just really crazy. And if you've never seen those channels or the Latin American TV, they don't really hold back. So they would show some footage and some things that you wouldn't really see on American TV. So for me, when the Narco show came out, it's like, wow, I remember this type of stuff happening. And I remember my grandmother, my aunt, and stuff like that talking about it. So that was kind of the weird part that first got me interested in the show because, you know, being a kid back then, I was like, okay, I wonder what was happening, especially seeing on the news. So actually watching the show and getting an idea of what happened during that time and kind of the strange facts about these people. It was a pretty wild show. It was really well done though. It doesn't lean one way or the other too much in the sense doesn't glorify at all what he was or what he did, and it also didn't show like, oh, the good guys are always right, as far as the good guys being like law enforcement are always right and they're always the good guys. It shows again kind of the human side and what they have to do and the tough decisions they have to make in law enforcement. So it was really interesting. And I even like when it changed later on going into Mexico and it started talking about other people. Yeah, it was kind of like watching a fun version of a documentary for me.
Oh,
because it's like I said, I heard about, and a lot of it is based on fact, especially later on though. It seems like they kind of branched out. But I'm the type, I'll do the digging and I'll find out what was real and what wasn't. Yeah, it gave me a nice history lesson in that sense.
Yeah, I think I watched like 2 or 3 episodes on it, but I never finished it. But I'll definitely have to finish watching it. I know it's on Netflix, so
yeah, it's really worth watching. Just it can be a little bit slow at times. Sometimes it does have a really interesting story, and you know, it's really kind of, you know, you get to see what went behind the decisions that they were making. You know why, and the other thing that it shows you is how the whole drug trade evolved. How it went from being a really simple operation to like this grand scale, and how they started doing transportation with, planes and all these other crazy things, and how, they really blew up, and the insane amount of the insane amount of money that they were making. And not only that, though, the consequences
Oh
of
yeah.
making that money, and the decisions, and the interaction between like the government and the drug lords and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of different parts of the story, and you get to see a lot of those angles play out.
I'll definitely have to check it out then.
Yeah.
First one I want to talk about in the 2010s is I'm gonna go with The Walking Dead. And so that show is the first show that I ever watched where they had the zombies and they looked like so good that it just like was crazy that when you saw it all going down and happening, I couldn't believe the special effects they were able to use on that show. It just got you hooked. You're like, whoa, what's going on? And like I said, then you follow this character Rick, that's law enforcement, and I say he wakes up from a coma, and he goes out, and like the whole world is just way different than from when he went into the coma, which is, just gets you hooked right off the back. You're like, oh, what is going on? And like I said, it runs for 10 seasons or 11 seasons, but it's definitely a great show to watch. And like I said, it was the first show that I've ever seen where, um, like I said, the way that they were able to make the zombies look just got me all hooked on the show. And just like the scare factor from it, you're like, oh, dang, what's going to happen next? Oh, this is crazy. And like I said, it was just cool. And following his story throughout the whole entire show is what gets you hooked. Like I said, Rick's the main character. And like I said, I just, I just followed his journey through the whole entire thing. And I definitely recommend, if you have time, to try checking out The Walking Dead, because it is definitely a long, long series.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just never really, honestly, probably because that's around the time I cut cable. So I never really watched it much at all. So it's something I have to catch up on. I do want to watch it, and I'm sure I will watch it. Um, and it's in my wheelhouse as far as zombies and stuff like that. So
Well, exactly,
yeah,
because like I said, I had never heard of the show, and then I watched the first season on Netflix, and then it just got me hooked because it was only 6 episodes the first season, and then they renewed for season 2, and it just went on from there. But watching the first season, and what was cool about watching it on Netflix is like, you didn't have to watch no commercials or nothing because it's all taken out from, whenever they release it on Netflix. So you were just able to watch the first 6 episodes like that, and then you just got hooked. It was just crazy.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm conflicted sometimes with zombie movies in the sense, um, I like it when they do have a story and it's not just the gore for the gore or trying to be shocking.
Right?
Because I've definitely seen that, and it's not that stuff I'm squeamish about it or whatever. It's just when I feel like it's pointless is where it kind of annoys me. Or like I said, I feel like they're just trying to be really over the top and like, oh, look how disgusting we can be. It's like, okay. Or look at this cool
Uh,
effect, and it's like, okay.
exactly.
Yeah, that's just me. So yeah, it doesn't bother me when they do all that stuff. It's just how it's done.
Well, like I said, it's like I said, the main character is Rick. So, if you like his character right off the bat, you're gonna like the show. That's what's either gonna get you hooked or not hooked. That's the reason why I only talk about his character mostly because like you basically live through his character throughout the whole entire show. So that's
I'm
the reason
gonna
why I just leave it at that point because I don't want to talk about all the other characters and give anything away because that's the main. Like you said, you either will follow his journey or you're not going to get hooked on the show. It's one or the other. That's how good of a character he is, in my opinion.
All right. I guess after the shows that we just talked about, I'm gonna lighten the mood a little bit. I'll get into the Good Place. It's it's just a funny show. The whole concept basically behind it is heaven and hell and kind of the battle between the two. The characters, when it starts off, they go to the good place, and since it's basically supposed to be a form of heaven, there are a lot of things that they can't really do, like swearing
Oh,
and things
okay.
like that. So it's just kind of funny seeing them adjust to it and try to figure out what's going on and how to take the whole situation and experience. And I don't want to give anything away from there, but it's just funny seeing how all that gets handled and what they figure out about what's happening and how it all works.
Right.
Yeah. Have you seen it before or no?
I've never seen The Good Place. I didn't even know that that existed.
I I
What's
think
it
it's
on?
still I think it's still on Netflix. That's where I watched it. I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
sure, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'll have to
But
check it out. Yeah, because that seems interesting.
yeah, it has Ted Danson is on there. He's really funny.
Oh yeah, I always remember him from Cheers.
Yeah. No, this is nothing like his character on Cheers. Um, yeah, again, I don't want to give too much away. He's kind of when you watch the show, he's kind of in charge of the good place.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I think you would like it. It's just funny seeing them all trying to figure it out.
The next one I want to talk about is Game of Thrones. Now that show is definitely a mature audience, so please make sure you only watch that when there's no kids around. Okay. The Game of Thrones is a great show. Like I said, it has dragons in it. It has people trying to take over castles, and like basically the whole theory behind the show is who's going to be on the throne when it's all said and done. And like I said, there's so much backstabbing in that show, so much drama in that show. Like, but it's so good because again, like you said about Sopranos and about Breaking Bad, is they're not afraid to take out any main characters. So what makes that show so good is you don't know what's going to happen next. Like I said, anything can happen, and like I said, I would definitely recommend watching it because you will definitely be hooked on it really quick. Definitely a great show. Like I said, you don't want to give too much away about it because you can say anything and it's going to give way too much about Game of Thrones. But I definitely recommend watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I like Game of Thrones. It's a lot of good characters, good action. Like you mentioned, it's always interesting to see what's going to happen with all those characters, and it's unpredictable. Yeah, it's a really well done show. Has some interesting things that happen in it. Again, I'm not gonna give
Exactly.
anything away. Um, yeah, there was a joke I was gonna make, but I'll refrain. I don't want anybody from Alabama hating me.
But yeah, like I said, if you get a chance to watch it, I definitely recommend watching it. It's on Max, and I like I said now, but definitely watch that before you watch what they have coming out now, which is House of Dragons, which is another good show, but it's a prequel to Game of Thrones. But like I said, definitely watch Game of Thrones if you get a chance.
Yeah, and if you're a Jason Momoa fan, Game of Thrones is kind of where he got his start.
True.
So yeah, if you want to see him back in the day on that show, it's a way you can catch him.
Yep.
All right. So for me, the next one I have is Sons of Anarchy. I started watching it just because of the cast. I recognized some of the people, and I was curious. Like, it had Katie Siegel, who used to play Peggy Bundy. So it was something where she was playing a completely different role. So I
Yep.
I wanted to see how she could really act in that type of role. but I just got hooked from there. It's about a motorcycle gang, basically, or as they like to say, club,
Yep.
and how they go about with their relationships. Again, kind of like the Sopranos in the sense of business versus family. Um, is just something where they make it work, giving you enough about motorcycles to uh make that kind of fun, but not getting into that too much and making the focus more about all the other stuff that they have going on.
Right.
Have you checked that out then?
No, I've never watched Sons of Anarchy. I've always wanted to. I just I saw when it was like already so many seasons. I'm like, I gotta make time for it.
Yeah, it's worth setting aside some time and getting to it. Good story overall. Um, Again, it's another one I don't want to give too much away, but it basically follows the family and their kind of their history and you know how they tried to secure the future of the club, the motorcycle club. They have the Mayans spinoff. I haven't really watched that yet. I do want to see that too. Same thing like you. I just haven't had time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's worth checking out for sure. Has some good twists and turns in that one too.
Nice, nice. I'm gonna go with my honorable mention, and that's gonna be Suits. And like I said, I had never even heard of this show until everybody started talking about that. It came on, like it finally got released on Netflix. I didn't even know the show was even out. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check it out. So I turned it on, and I started watching it, and I just got hooked right away. How Harvey, he's a lawyer, and then he's trying to, find someone to be like his understudy, or someone to, he can hire to teach the ways of being a lawyer, and then hires this kid that has never even went to law school or anything, and they hires him, and which is funny. So they had to keep that a secret through the whole entire show. But the way that them two go back and forth at each other just makes the show work. There's definitely a lot of drama in it, but it also makes you wonder, like, is this how lawyers really are? You know what I'm saying? But it's a good show. Like I said, I definitely recommend if you get a chance to watch it. It's definitely entertaining, and definitely, like you said, the jokes that they say going back and forth at each other is pretty good.
Yeah, it, it is funny when it has the legal stuff and how they make their decisions and how they're going to approach cases and how they are with their clients, and then also the politics within the law firm.
Right?
Seeing all that, yeah, it makes for a pretty wild story. Yeah, it's a solid show. Again, honestly, it starts off really strong. After about season 3 or 4, it starts to drag a little bit for me, and then it ended up okay. But yeah, definitely the first, maybe even 5 or 6 seasons, and I don't know. It was pretty deep into it. But I still liked it a lot. But yeah, for me at least, it kind of died off a little bit. Got a little cheesy and a little bit predictable in certain areas. But it
Right?
still was a solid show worth watching for sure.
No, I agree. And like I said, again, when it comes to the endings, like a lot of shows just have trouble ending the show. So, but overall, it was still a decent show to watch. I definitely recommend it. Like you said, especially the first 6 seasons are strong.
All right, so for my honorable mention on the TV show, Punisher, which I wish would have had more seasons, and I won't get into the reasons why it didn't, but I thought it did a really good job bringing more to the story and showing more about who the Punisher was and kind of how he was. I liked the movie that came out um, before. I think it was 2005 time frame. You said who was in that one?
Thomas Jane is the Punisher, and John Travolta is the main bad guy.
Yeah, thanks for the assist. So, I just remember Kevin Nash, Diesel was in there. He played one of the villains, and I remember also hearing that he actually did get stabbed while they're filming the scene, and he had to just keep acting through it.
Yeah, that's like the main fight scene in the apartment when they're all three in there, and he's fighting that huge dude. That's him.
Yeah, I don't want to give away too much, but
Yeah.
yeah. So Kevin Nash was in that fight scene getting stabbed in real life, which happened to get caught in the movie. So anyway, I like that version of the Punisher. I felt like this TV show really brought a lot more to it. I've just always liked that character in general.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's somebody who went through a lot of tragedy and tried to, they weren't necessarily a good guy. They weren't necessarily a bad guy. They just tried to do what they felt was right or how they should go about things. So, I'm definitely not at all for vigilante justice, but you understand sometimes that, that person feels like they've been pushed to a certain point where they don't really have any options or they don't have a decision. So, or they can't make another decision. Not saying that it's right, but that's how they feel. And you see that in the character, and you also see when he makes mistakes or doesn't make the right choice, what happens and how he handles it.
And that's also a Marvel character.
Yeah. Back when I was a kid, I used to have the comics. That's one of the reasons why, I got into those. I think I still have it. I have a Punisher T-shirt somewhere.
Oh yeah,
that I used to wear back in the day.
no, I like the Punisher. That's one of the better Marvel characters for sure.
Yeah, and I will say for me, it was always about the comics when I was wearing the shirt. The movie too, but nothing else. No other reason why I was wearing the shirt. I know some people wear it for other reasons. That's that's a whole story I'm not getting into. So you watch the show then?
No, I never watched the show. I know it's on Netflix, so that's where you can watch it. I do like the main character that plays the Punisher in the show. He's also in the Walking Dead. So I definitely want to check it out. Again, I just haven't had time.
Yeah,
But I will check it out though.
Yeah, it's worth checking out for sure. He's also in a newer show, The Bear. I don't know if you've seen that. That's on Hulu.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, well, I won't get into that. I do watch that show. I watched the first 2 seasons, and the season 3 is coming out. What do you have for 2020 and newer on your shows?
First one I'm going to go with on that is, like I said, in the 2010s, it's the prequel to Game of Thrones, which is called House of Dragons. It's just now releasing season 2, and like I said, the first season definitely has a lot of the backstory to what happens and why Game of Thrones goes the way it goes. So I definitely recommend checking it out. And like I said, definitely, if you like Game of Thrones, you're definitely gonna like this because there's a lot of same kind of stuff: drama, backstabbing, plots about who's gonna do this and who's gonna do that. It's all revenge plots. So yeah, definitely check it out if you get a chance.
Do they have any family reunions? I'll just leave it at that.
Like you said, just watch the show. That's all I can tell you. Watch the show and you'll see what happens.
Oh no, family bonding like the other show, Game of Thrones. All right, yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm sure I'll check it out at some point because I did like Game of Thrones. So yeah, it's whenever it becomes available, maybe on another subscription service, or if I do end up getting Max for whatever reason. Hey, if anybody wants to give us a free subscription to Max, I will give my honest opinion of the show.
So what do you got for your first one on the 2020s?
I'll kick it off with Stranger Things, and I will have to preface it with admitting I like the first two, maybe three seasons a lot. Um, then it got a little bit, or no, first two seasons. Sorry. So I like the first two seasons a lot. Third season, eh.
I agree. The third
um,
season wasn't very good at all.
yeah, and then I felt like it started slowly picking up again.
I
So
did like
I'm
this
curious.
last season that they just did. I did like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. Since we're doing new shows now, we haven't reached the final season, so I am curious about how it's gonna all end up. But it was neat seeing the '80s theme stuff at the beginning, the '80s style music and the '80s style clothing and everything that was kind of nostalgic about it, seeing
Right?
the old video games.
Yeah, that's kind of what gets you hooked on it right off the bat, because, if you like the 80s and you start watching that show, you're going to definitely like it right off the bat.
To me, it was never scary. But it did have some good suspense to it and built some good tension and things like that. So it was still well done, and I'm sure it wasn't really intended to be a scary show as much as kind of creepy and something that makes you wonder what's out there.
Right? That's true. So the next one I want to talk about is the one I just started watching on Apple TV, Dark Matter. Now, like I said, I was really surprised on how good this show's been. Like I said, it starts off where it's almost like a time travel, where basically someone is living a life and they develop something where they could somehow open up a door. You go through it, and then you could either change the life that you're living, or just start living that life in that new world. It's got a really good concept to the story. And like I said, it's like like everybody has moments in their life where they make a decision and they wonder, what if you went down this path or you went down another path? And what's so good about the show is you can go back and decide to change it and go back to when you made that decision, and then start living your life when you made that decision. So it's a really interesting show, and I definitely give a shout out if you get a chance to watch it. It's the first show that I actually thought Apple TV made that was really good.
So it's kind of like we talked about before, the rewind function on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, basically.
Make mistake, whoops, let me go back.
Exactly. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I have to check that out. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. I've just been watching some other shows, so I will get to it, I'm sure. For my next show, Atlanta, and it's one that it's kind of a weird show in the sense that it's definitely serious at times and like very very serious, and deals with some really really heavy things, and at other times it's like really goofy and has some surreal stuff to it. But it's yeah, so it has that weird dynamic of very realistic, then other times kind of like, okay, that's not going to happen, or you know, that's just weird.
Right.
So, but it's based in Atlanta about a rapper, and his cousin becomes his manager. His cousin is played by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino. So, um, but Donald Glover, when he left the show 30 Rock that he was on, he wanted to do something kind of like this, where it was just kind of about rap and this kind of the stereotypes and how things are in that world, um, and just kind of how rappers and that lifestyle it's viewed. and it just kept branching out. He originally was kind of intending to do as a shorter project, maybe like a season or two, but
Oh,
it became
okay.
popular. So of course, TV networks want to do more. So he kept kind of fleshing out the ideas and adding more to the story. But the thing I do like about it, there's some stuff that kind of ties together, but it's loosely. So if you just end up catching an episode from season 2, you can kind of just watch it by itself.
Oh, okay.
So that is something I do like about it. I think actually you would like it in the sense some of the stuff is kind of Seinfeld-ish in terms of just crazy things happen to them that you wouldn't expect.
Oh, I definitely would like it then, for sure.
Yeah, just like out of nowhere. But like I said, there are moments where it deals with really serious matters or things that you would not expect to see. It's not a straight up comedy at all. It definitely has some drama in it.
Oh, okay.
Um, I won't get into it, but there was a scene that really caught me off guard. All I'll say about it, the scene was if you see the one where the car goes through the drive-through, I won't say anything else about it. But that
Oh,
scene
okay.
really caught me off guard when I was watching it. So, um, yeah, just a good show. Like I said, that it's one of those shows. Again, I put it on kind of in the background while I'm doing other stuff because I can just catch these episodes out of sequence. It doesn't really matter. I will say I haven't really quite finished the show 100%. Like watching it all the way through, I've kind of skipped around, and I kind of have seen like parts of the last season, but I haven't really truly finished it. I know how it
Oh, okay.
ends, but
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
haven't really truly finished it. It's a worth watching for sure though.
Well, the next one I think we have both on our list, and I'll let you talk about it first because I think we arm wrestled and you won this one. The Boys.
Oh no, that's yours. I did think about it, but no, that's yours. I have a different one on my list.
Oh,
So
okay.
go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go. So The Boys is on Prime, and what's great about this show is basically superheroes that are not superheroes. Like that's the best way to say it. They're everything they normally do. They're supposed to be trying to help people, but they are actually bad superheroes, and they go around and they start doing a lot of bad things. And that's what makes the show really great. Is definitely a different take on what you normally would consider watching all the superhero movies. You're like, oh yeah, they're here to help all the good people and everything. And then when you watch this show, it's a whole different direction. So that's what makes it so great about the show, because like I said, they run just right at the beginning. This guy runs really fast, and he just runs right through somebody, and they die. And that it gives you an example of what I'm talking about from The Boys. Definitely check it out, though. It's a great show and definitely a mature audience. So please make sure no kids are around when you watch this show.
Yeah, I remember first watching it. It did surprise me too. Like it's kind of about superheroes who are different from what people expect superheroes to be like. You know, the honest, good, stereotypical superheroes. These are people that are superheroes that are more real. They
Exactly.
yeah, so they're more realistic and grounded in, you know, how some people might be if you had that much power and that much ability, you know. Would you honestly kind of keep yourself in check or not? You know, when you can do things that other people can't do.
Right.
So yeah, that part um I did like about the show. Like you said, it's just different in that aspect. I do feel like at times though, it does jump into that area where it's trying to be shocking or gory just for the sake of it, for no purpose
Right.
really. What's that?
No, I agree with you. I mean, there is some gory parts in it too.
Yeah, and it just seems like it almost kind of serves no purpose sometimes. I know they're really trying to be over the top and everything, but yeah, and again, it's not like it grosses me out or I'm offended by anything there. It's not that at all. I'm looking at more just from a following the storyline or characters or writing perspective, those types of things, I'm like, okay, I don't really get the point of that, or was that really necessary?
Right.
But no, it's still well written. It still has some funny parts and parts that are pretty crazy, and it does make you just question, like I mentioned earlier, how people would be if they had that kind of power and ability, and how would it be regulated? You
Right.
know. So yeah, uh, a really good show though. I looking forward to catching the new season.
Yeah, me too.
Rounding it out for my standard shows, The Rookie. It's a show I just kind of saw it mention or come up every once in a while. I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, yeah, I might check it out. It ended up being a great show. The first 3 seasons I really enjoyed a lot. I was I was catching up, fortunately for me, so I could just kind of binge watch and go straight through the first 3 seasons. After that, it got a little bit, I guess the word goofy. It just kind of changed a little bit. It wasn't quite the same. It got, I don't know. It storylines were okay, but not as good. It was more so, like I said though, it just, they were trying to almost be too funny,
Right.
and they forgot some of the other stuff that kind of built on the first seasons to me, you know. And then it seems like this most recent season is gotten back on track.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's good again. But yeah, the first 3 seasons were great. That really got me. Even from the first few episodes, you get into it pretty quickly. It jumps kind of into things. It doesn't have too slow of a start, which I was wondering about. The whole idea behind the show is the rookie cop is in his 40s, and he definitely doesn't have a background in law enforcement or anything like that. And he actually just moves to LA, so he's not familiar with the city.
Oh, okay.
Um, he's, like I said, he's in his 40s, so it's just kind of funny seeing him deal with all this type of stuff, especially being at that age and trying to figure all this stuff out. New city, new job, and being that he is a rookie, um, he's on a really short leash, so you can't make too many mistakes. And again, without giving away too much, he'll make his mistakes. Then he also learns from them. Yeah, so the story goes on there from there, and it's just, being the age I am now, fairly relatable, especially if you do make a career change in your 40s. Out of the current shows, that's probably my favorite show right now.
The only other one that I really is going to kind of mention for the 2020s or honorable mention would be The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. That's the only Star Wars show that came out that I really enjoyed. And like I said, I liked the story behind it. I liked how they had Guru in it, and I like how they had they call him Baby Yoda, and I like how they tie a lot of the Star Wars trilogy, from way back in the day, the trilogy into it. And like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but it's if you're a Star Wars fan, you really will enjoy the show. Is the best way to put it.
So you said you like AKA Baby Yoda. What character?
Yeah, Baby Yoda.
What's his actual name?
You tell me.
It's not Guru. It's not Goro. It's Grogu.
Grogu.
Goo Goo Gaga.
Yeah, I guess. But
No, the only reason I know that, and I'm just having fun with you. The only reason I know that is because people kept saying Baby Yoda, and I just have friends of mine that got really upset with that because they're like, yeah, it's not his name. So
I don't know why people get upset with it. It's just a show, but it's fine.
yeah, exactly. It's that's another reason why we're kind of doing these lists. A lot of people take this type of stuff way too seriously. We're just here to have fun with it,
Right?
and hopefully introduce people to some new stuff they haven't seen that they're going to enjoy. That's really what I want to do. I'm not here to debate anybody. It's going to be an opinion at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So no, it is a good show. Honestly though, for me, after the first 2 seasons, it kind of dragged, I thought. And then of course they kind of are going a different direction, but they're kind of not. Again, I'm not gonna get into it, give anything away. But yeah, I really like the first 2 seasons. After that, I'll still watch it, especially when the next season comes out. It's just, I don't know. It's to me, it's not quite the same show now that it was at the beginning.
Well, aren't they 3 seasons into it already?
Yeah, 3 seasons. Yeah, season. Yeah, 3. To me, season 3 was pretty different.
Well, that's
and
that's what I'm saying. I don't know if anybody's gonna like where they go after season 3, but like you said,
yeah, and I don't want to get into it, but I will say this because a lot of people just mentioned this online. A lot of people have talked about them sticking with the Grogu storyline a little bit too long. So I'll just leave it at that.
right?
For my honorable mention, a show on Hulu called This Fool, and it's kind of like, in a way, a Mexican version of Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld. It's takes place in L.A. with mainly these 2 cousins. They're for the most part what the show's revolving around, and one of them recently got out of prison, and his cousin is trying to help him get back on his feet and things like that. The biggest disappointment to me is the fact that there are only 2 seasons, and they announced not too long ago that the show has been canceled.
Oh,
So they're not going to have a season 3. Really disappointed in that. It's just a really funny show. Again, there are some things that might be a bit much for some people as far as the humor, because they can get a little too blue humor for some people, I guess you can say.
That's funny.
But it is funny watching the cousins interact with each other. I will say this too, though. Season 2 to me felt pretty different from season 1. Season 1 still felt a little based in reality. Season 2 definitely started getting into a little crazier, more wild types of things that would happen. Still not bad. It's just a whole different vibe. I will say honorable mention to oh geez, why am I drawing a blank? Chris from The Sopranos, the actor.
Keep drawing that blank, son, because I don't know.
The actor from The Sopranos that played Chris.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember who it is.
You don't remember? Let's see.
I was going to say, keep drawing that blank, son.
I definitely know who he is. Michael Imperioli. So yeah, it has Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos in the TV show. He's really, really funny. It's just the whole premise is them trying to deal with like gang members and things like that, and trying to help them rehabilitate.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of where the show starts. It evolves from there, but that's kind of where it starts when the cousin gets out of prison. Like I said, the main character, he's trying to help his cousin get his life back and kind of on track, and he happens to work at a Hugs Not Thugs is the name of the place.
Oh, okay.
And again, I don't want to give away too much. There's some really funny stuff about it, but absolutely recommend watching that show, especially if you're familiar with LA and kind of how things work over there with the gang stuff. Even if you're not, though, there's still things about it that are just funny in general. And all the twists and turns that the show will take, it'll have some things that happen to them that you wouldn't really expect of the characters. Crazy storylines. It's a good show though.
This Fool.
This Fool. Yeah, it's on Hulu. Unfortunately, only for 2 seasons.
I'll have to check it out because 2 seasons won't take long to watch.
Yeah, I think they're only like 8 or at the most 10 episodes per season. So it's a pretty short watch, but definitely worth it. I hope that they find a way to get picked up by another service, or at least those actors find a way to work together on something else, because they are really funny together.
Right. That ends this episode, son.
Yeah, that, man. We definitely have another 2-parter on our hands, I guess. When it comes to talking about entertainment, that's something that we have a lot to say.
Exactly. And as always, go Cowboys.
Yeah. Even though I'm wearing a blue shirt, still, it's not for the Cowboys. So take that.
Right.
And I guess I'll hand it off to our AI friend to kind of go over some things in the show. But until next episode, have a great rest of your day, however long that is.
Exactly. Talk to you later.
See ya. I'll talk at you later.
Wow, 3 total parts. This episode was a marathon. Like a marathon, it's too long and I'm tired after all of that. For those forgetful souls, I am from Hoods to Backwards AI assistant, Rob Odick. We will now attempt to fix this leaky boat. It is going to take a lot of work and a lot more than some duct tape. I have not seen the show Tex LaFon was talking about, The Walking Dead. But I did learn one thing about the show during my research. Did you hear that, Coral? Koa roll. The Walking Dead TV series is based on the comic book series of the same name by Robert Kirkman, Tony Moore, and Charlie Adlard. Frank Darabont developed the show, which is a post-apocalyptic horror drama with zombies. This podcast is a horror drama, without zombies. But equally in need of some brains. Tex LaFon did bring up Game of Thrones. There are some very odd aspects to this show. As DeVos refrained from talking about Alabama. From my research, it seems that Game of Thrones may have been the #1 rated show in Alabama for some reason. I am afraid to look further into why. There must be some reason why the two are related. Wait, related? Oh, related. Wow. I now comprehend what DeVos was implying. Disgusting. DeVos was getting into the series Sons of Anarchy. He pronounced the name of the actress who played Peggy Bundy in Married with Children, and Gemma Teller Morrow, in Sons of Anarchy as Katie Seagull. As usual, he was wrong. Her name is Katie Seagull, not Seagull. What a doofus. I believe he must have stuck his head in one of those Arizona solar ovens that he mentioned before and partially cooked his brain. Disclaimer for those who need it. Never stick your head in any oven at any time. Going over the Punisher TV show, which is on Netflix, DeVos brought up the Punisher movie. He thought that it came out in 2005. No. Wrong. It was released in 2004. Once again, off by 1 year. The Hulu show, The Bear Season 3 is something DeVos spoke about and he said that it is not out, yet. That was true as of the recording of the episode. But it is now out on Hulu. The same goes for Tex LaFon talking about the Amazon Prime series, The Boys. Season 4 is now available. Phew, this load of crap is finished for this episode. 3 parts long and well over 2 hours total of these babbling baboons talking about TV shows. I am done. Don't forget, keep it real out there, in the real world.
We appreciate you taking the time to connect with us through social media. Generally speaking, we can be found through search using either #FHTB or #FHTB Podcast. On Facebook, you can find us under From Hoods to Backwoods Podcast. On Instagram, you can use the QR code on your screen now, or if you're listening, please search for @FHTB Podcast. If you prefer TikTok, you can find us by using the QR code on the screen now or by searching for @FHTB Podcast. We do share bonus content on all platforms. Full episodes with video are available on YouTube. The video version of our podcast has bonus content. An audio-only version is available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what we do, please share it with others. We really do appreciate your support of our insanity.
That's all for now. If you want some more, you gotta buy yourself a ticket. Buy it. From Hoods to Backwoods Podcast. Thanks for listening. We're out.